one of the reasons that I hope we'll get it is that if countries are trying to hack our election systems, we'll have a paper trail for every ballot that's cast. But as you know, there were a number of statements that were made during the election. The president said, in effect, encouraged the Russians to hack Hillary Clinton and our political system. This is not me making this up. This is like on the record. This is an actual recorded statement. And so, in January of this year, at an Open Intelligence Committee hearing, and we have very few of them, so when you see one, and you see me ask a question in an Open Intelligence hearing, know that an enormous amount of time has been put into my asking that question. I don't just kind of shamble in there and just kind of pop off. I asked Mr. Comey, I said, here's a big pile of newspaper articles. It's all newspaper, not classified, that describe contacts between the Russians and various people in the Trump campaign. And I said, Mr. Comey, have you followed this up? Have you investigated? And he said, oh, my goodness, I can't talk about those things. And when the Senate was done rolling its eyes, because you'll recall Mr. Comey had a lot to say 11 days before our election, we were on our way to a special committee. And I led the fight for what I thought were the three principles: open hearings, use of subpoenas, and the ability to declassify information. Now, I can't get into anything declassified, so I can't comment on the stories that have been in the papers the last couple of days. And if you believe these press reports, and you're reading them, it looks like a shoe's dropping practically every day. But what I'm doing on the Intelligence Committee that I can talk about is I'm putting my focus on following the money.
Yes.
So our first public hearing, which was advertised as a real snooze, the chairman of the committee said, we're going to look at the history of Russia and how it might apply, and everybody over at the press table was going like this and about to conk out. But I studied the witnesses, and one of them was a young man who had served in the FBI with great valor. His name's Clint Watts, now a professor, academic. And so I said to Mr. Watts at this open hearing, I said, well, there's this great history, because this was a hearing, in effect, looking at history. There is a lot of history between the Russian government and the oligarchs and the organized crime element. Those three are almost intertwined. So I asked Mr. Watts what he thought about my effort to follow the money. And he looked up and he said, Senator, good point. Got to follow the money, but you also have to follow the trail of the dead bodies. And that kind of woke up the room. And now we are very much in the middle of the inquiry. As you know, we've subpoenaed Mr. Flynn. There are a variety of issues which I can't get into. I've put a hold on a key appointment at the Treasury Agency to make sure that we can get the documents that we've asked for. I can't get in to those. And just one other fact that a lot of people are wondering about. I was over at Fred Meyer last night and somebody asked me about this. So one of my claims to fame, as my wife says, one of my few, is I have had a baked chicken at every Fred Meyer in Oregon. That's where I get most of my information. And somebody started asking me about how's it all going to work, because a lot of you know that Bob Mueller has been named the special counsel, and they were all trying to figure out, is everybody going to just trip over each other? The functions going forward are very separate. Bob Mueller is the special counsel who will be dealing with criminal matters, the criminal law. Our investigations committee, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, doesn't do that. We're an investigative body. It's our job to tell the American people how our democracy was attacked and explain it in a way that protects what are called sources and methods, the classified information that you can't give out unless you want Americans to be killed. So it is really moving into the key stage right now. But what I want to tell you, I want to tell everybody in Marion County, because I've been saying it across the state, as Oregon's guy on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, I want to pledge to you, this is not going to be swept under the rug. Yeah.